Well, welcome to this place. Here we search for truth and understanding. We celebrate life and we contemplate its mysteries. We share healing and wholeness. Whoever you are, wherever you come from, whomever you love, we welcome you to this congregation. We're so glad you're with us this morning. And now I would invite Mary Corthell to lead us in our chalice lighting.
We light our chalice as a symbol of gratitude as we celebrate the abundance of our lives together. In this sanctuary, we harvest bushels of strength for one another and offer our crop with the hands of compassion and generosity. In the authentic and gentle manner of our connections, we cultivate a simple sweetness to brighten our spirits. May we be grateful for the ways we nourish and uplift each other, for it is the sharing of this hallowed time that sustains us.
To worship means to consider that which has worth. Today we consider with gratitude the many gifts of this community. The opportunity to be affirmed in who we are and to offer that affirmation to others. The chance to stand together to help remake the world and the ideal of justice. The freedom to choose one's own path to truth and to learn from the experience of others. So this morning, let us welcome all of these gifts with gratitude, for they have been paid for with many currencies. The dollars and cents of those who gave what they could, and then stretched just a little bit more. The tears of those who struggled to build better lives for themselves and for others. And the infinite small acts of service that make the parts greater than the whole. Today we consider with gratitude and with deep humility what it means to pay forward what has been paid forward for us. Come, let us worship together. Now I would invite Duncan and Louise to share with us some Love Connects Us artwork from the children.
Good morning. A few months ago, Duncan and I visited with the children in their religious exploration classes, and we discussed the concept of love connecting. And we really had a wonderful group conversation with very little encouragement. They shared their feelings about how love connects them with each other, with family, with friends, with pets, with nature, and more.
Thank you, Louise. Good morning, First Parish companion Zoomers. So the first testimonial that I'm going to show you is, this is written by Audrey. And she writes, I played on a tree yesterday. I love nature. And I'm going to let you hold this up, Louise, so that they can see it. Maybe get it closer.
Is that better? Oh, here we go.
There we go. So many ways for us to connect in nature. Plants, flowers, birds, a walk in the woods, a walk by the pond. Thank you, Audrey. This next one I'm going to show you is by Fiona. Fiona, you may be with us today. And she writes, I am kind to new people. Very good. Very loving, very kind. No matter how old or how young you are, you don't want to be the new kid on the block. So bringing new people into your circle of friends is a wonderful way to show your love. Thank you, Fiona. Next one is from Avery. And Avery writes, we just adopted 2 kittens that have eye scars from a shelter. Their names are Toast, she's gray, and Boomer, she's black. Avery, sharing love with your pet is a great experience. Providing a loving home to a rescue animal is a wonderful gift. Next one is by Grace. Grace, you may be here too, helping others in need at Girl Scouts. Maybe move a little bit closer. Yeah, that's better. Good. I do know that a big part of the Girl Scouts mission is to engage in service projects to assist others in need. That's a wonderful way to connect with people. Thank you, Grace. Thank you for the Girl Scouts. And then this next one is from Hunter. And Hunter writes, spending time with family and friends. These days, we're spending a lot of time with family, finding new ways to connect with each other, like FaceTime with friends and Zooming here right now with our church companions. People are dusting off board games and taking walks, having family meals. Great way to connect, being together. Thank you. This next one is by Jackson, and Jackson writes one word on his testimonial. In big letters, he writes the word time. And it's similar to Hunter. You know, for Jackson, and I don't want to misinterpret this, but it's certainly time is a way to connect. Spending time with friends opens the doors and in many ways. But I won't overinterpret it. It's I see it as very similar to Hunter, spending time together. And now we have an anonymous one. And this person writes, I like the weather.
Good weather.
I like good weather. I agree. Taking a walk on a beautiful day is the best medicine for many of us. Okay, now we have one here from Paige. And Paige writes, I'm getting a one-eyed cat from a shelter. There we are, similar to Avery, giving a home to a pet in need. Again, a wonderful, loving gift. We have 3 more. This one is by William, and William writes a lot on his testimonial. He writes, considerations, being considerate, hugs, including someone, gifts, and showing respect. William, like Fiona, that's very welcoming. All wonderful ways to connect, including others. Thank you. And now we have one from Sam. And Sam writes, spending time with friends and family. Now, I think Sam is a friend of Jackson's. Not 100% sure of that, but if it is your friend Jackson or someone else, is pretty wonderful to include Sam in First Parish, in RE, and our other church activities. Isn't it wonderful that you've included Sam in First Parish events? And then our final one is by Tobin. And Tobin, I think you're here. Tobin writes, I show love by coming to RE. When we gather together to worship and learn, certainly love connects us. Wonderful testimonial, all of them.
And I'd just like to thank the children for reminding us adults how we can connect through loving kindness, especially these days.
Well, thank you, Duncan and Louise, because you're right. The kids, once again, are leading the rest of us. So thanks to all. Now for our next hymn, we'll be singing We Would Be One.
Not technical difficulty.
We would be one as now we join in singing our hymn of love to pledge ourselves anew to that high cause of greater understanding of who we are and what in us is true. We would be one in living for each other, to show to all a new community. We would be one in building for tomorrow a nobler world than we have known today. We would be one in searching for that meaning which holds our hearts and points us on our way. As one we pledge ourselves to greater service, with love and trust is strive to make us free.
Please join me in a spirit of prayer. Oh, this morning our hearts are so full. Our hearts are so full with with fear for our safety, fear for our family's safety. Our hearts are full with gratitude for all those who continue to go to work, to keep our society functioning. We're filled with admiration for all those brave workers out there. Hearts are filled with worry, concern, unease. But this is a time that it's unlike any other. And amidst all of this, we continue to notice all of those simple joys in our lives. The sprouting of leaves, the rainbow halo around the moon, the laughter of our children, beating our family members in Monopoly. There's so much joy still to be had. During this time, we just ask for the presence that knows no name, but is somehow here amongst us, holding us. We ask that mystery of the universe help guide us through all of these feelings, holding all of these tender prayers in our hearts. Amen. Now what I would invite Fritz to share with us a story.
This story by Reverend Lynn Gardner is called Sustaining the Tree of Life. The tree stood in the middle of the village. Its trunk was so large that it took 6 people holding hands to reach around it. The roots were strong and wide, and its branches spread out over the village square, offering shelter from the rain or shade from the summer sun. Its fruit was juicy, sweet, and plentiful. The people of the village loved the tree. Children played beneath it and climbed in its lowest branches. Young people knew that if you whispered your dreams to the tree, they were more likely to come true. People who proclaimed their love or friendship for one another beneath its branches found their relationships to be nourishing, and elders discovered that their sweetest memories could be counted on when they were near the great tree. One day, a traveling merchant arrived in the village. He rested in the shade and ate 2 pieces of delicious fruit. "This fruit is incredible," he said. "I would like to have some to sell in the next villages that I visit. Who owns this tree?" "No one owns this tree," replied a villager. "If anything, we belong to it." "Well then, if no one owns the tree, then no one will mind if I pick the fruit," said the merchant, and began to fill a basket. "I mind," said the villager, "and today I am the keeper of the tree." "What do you mean, keeper of the tree?" "We each take our turn being here with the tree. We could never own it, We're here as protectors, as sustainers. That's ridiculous. This tree doesn't need you. You could just take what you need. Take what you want. The tree will continue. But the villager couldn't be persuaded. Sir, this tree isn't like that. We don't come here to take from it, even though we receive much. We are keepers of the tree because this is where we are nourished. This is where some of our most precious memories are and where our people have dreamed. This is where we remember who we want to become. Well, said the merchant, you may think this tree is very special, but it still doesn't need you to sit with it. That is preposterous. Ah, replied the villager, the tree itself may not need me, but what of others who come by? Just this morning, I sat with a woman whose heart was heavy with worry. Had I not been here, she would have had to carry that weight alone. And this afternoon, a tired couple came by, and they rested with me. They said they had been looking for a place like this. And then an elder came by, and we watched the birds in the branches together. And now you are here. You were confused about what this tree is and how to be with it. Imagine if you had arrived and not found anyone here to talk with. You might have continued thinking that everything you do is all about you. And the merchant sat for a while in the shade, thinking about these ideas that felt new and a little challenging. As the sun went down, he picked up his bag and headed out of town, whistling a song that he hadn't thought of in years. On his way, he shared a smile with each person he met, his heart feeling strangely light and joyful. And the people of the village, they continued to sustain the tree of life, to care for one another, and to share their gifts with grace and gratitude. Thus ends the reading.
All right, now I would invite Marshall Sugarman to share a moment with the congregation.
Morning, everybody. Fritz, thank you for that reading. I immediately am trying to do the math, and I'm wondering if, with all of the congregation members that we have and friends of the church and all of the children in our congregation, whether we could join arms and actually have a circle around the meeting house. I think we'd be close. I actually want to try it if we could, when we can all get together, when it's safe to reconvene in person. I just can't thank you all enough for what has been just an outpouring of love and just a demonstration and a reaffirmation of how love does connect us. And I just could not be more proud of our congregation and how, despite all of the worry and fright and concern and deep anxiety, how people are just still able successfully to support the church. And I'm very pleased to show you our visual this week now. We're just about on Home Street, as you can tell. So we've got 5 on this row, and actually 5 on this bottom row to complete our fund drive. And in fact, though, we've got 9 pledges outstanding from members. And I've left one appropriately for Elijah, given that Passover is coming up. Although I'm not sure I want to leave a full glass of wine for him. I might just want to leave a sip for him. But the fact is, we are trending very, very nicely above last year. And I know how difficult this is for everybody. But for the 9 remaining folks who have yet to pledge, again, our promise to you is that we understand how acutely things can change and how quickly things can change. And what we don't want is the anxiety of the crisis that we're living with right now to prevent you from making a pledge at all. And to the contrary, I view your pledge as just a message of hope for all of us. And so please do what you can, recognizing that if you find later that you're unable to fulfill your pledge, that we of all people completely understand. And I think back to Fritz's story, and I view us all as stewards of our community and of our meeting house. And I think that our meeting house, you know, it has withstood just the ravages of time and so many things: the Civil War, the Spanish flu, the First World War, the Great Depression, World War II, and just so many other moments in time. And we as a community, we are redefining the word grit and resilience. And this proves it. And our trending above last year in spite of this crisis proves it. So again, please give what you can. For those who are friends of the church or old friends coming back, I am sending you via chat right now Chris Flaherty's email. And if you can please let him know what you could pledge, that would be terrific. Chris, I hope I've got it right. Chris_Flaherty@verizon.net. Again, love does connect us. Our results are proving that. And thank you so much for your stewardship. I have one additional message, which is unrelated to the drive, but it is very important for the church community. After our services concluded, if you could all stay on, please, because we want to have a conversation about the stimulus package, and in particular, how it can benefit in an unprecedented way the First Parish community. For those of you who may not know, there is something called the Paychex Protection Program, the PPP, which is the underpinning of the stimulus for small business, as well as sole proprietors and houses of worship. And then there is another component called the Economic Injury Development Loan Program, which gives First Parish an unprecedented opportunity, which we'd like to discuss, because it's our expectation that we'd like to have a church meeting at some point over the next few days to discuss this in greater detail. For all of those, and I might add, for all of those of you who may be sole proprietors and or parts of small businesses that have unfortunately been furloughed or have lost your jobs, this is relevant to you as well as your company. So please stay after to learn more and to be a part of that conversation. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Marshall, for letting us know about this important opportunity. And I appreciate those who can stay after the service doing so to join in the conversation. Also, thank you so much to all of the work of the annual fund drive committee, and thanks to all of you who have pledged, for truly, we build this community together. You know, I recently heard a story written by the former moderator of the UUA, Denny Davidoff. She says, there was once a rich man who was on his deathbed. He gathered his children around his bedside and he said to them, "My children, I want you to sell everything I have. I want to liquidate all of my assets and turn them into cash so that I can take them with me when I go." Well, the children were upset, but he insisted. He said, "I know that they say that you can't take it with you, but I don't believe that." So they buried him with all of his cash. So the man arrives at the world yet to come and meets the angel Gabriel and shows him all of the money that he has brought with him. And Gabriel says to him, "Sir, you don't understand. Here, cash is not legal tender. Here, the only thing that counts are receipts. The only thing that counts are receipts." You know, in other words, in the end, all that will matter is where you spent your money in life. I mean, you can just imagine that scene, you know, there at the pearly gates. Total for tropical Caribbean vacations. Let's see, that totals $48,000, $448. Fancy lattes on the way to work, $9,764. Gourmet paninis during your lunch break that you didn't tell your wife about, $32,679. You know, it said, you know, show me your budget and I will show you your values. And, you know, there is much truth to that statement, but, you know, as we all know, budgets are often projections, they're aspirations. You know, I think I like Denny Davidoff's story better. Don't show me what you intend to spend. Don't show me what you think would be a good idea. No, show me your receipts. And to be honest, you know, I love this idea in theory, you know, but in reality, this scares me half to death. I mean, you know, listen, if I tallied all of my receipts of my whole life, I'm sure I'd be ashamed of many of the things I wasted my money on. I'm sure I would have wished that I had spent more on giving to those in need more on time with my family, more on paying for those things in my life that I really deeply care about. But like many of us, often I go about my life day by day. And often in the moments, that cappuccino with that French pastry sounds like a really good idea. I think my only saving grace would be if I were to include on those receipts not only where I spent my money, but also where I spent my time. What causes did I march for? What charities did I serve? What communities did I help take care of? Maybe then I could improve my ledger just a little bit. Maybe. What about you? What would the receipts of your life look like? Now, I know, we don't like to talk about money, especially for those of us who have enough money, especially for those who are concerned about the economic inequity of our world. It leaves us with uncomfortable feelings of guilt. But as Unitarian Universalists, we are called to take a hard, honest look at ourselves. For we are called to work for justice, for equity, and for compassion in all human relations. And that work is not for the timid. Do our spoken values actually line up with how we live our lives? Do our projected budgets match our receipts? Well, here at First Parish, here on Commitment Sunday, the culmination of our annual fund drive, I can tell you that your actions speak for themselves. So many of you reached down deep and then gave some more. And for that, I thank you. Even during this period of huge economic uncertainty, you pledged your hard-earned dollars to this community that you treasure, to this community that you love. During this time when we are locked down in our homes, you continued to create community. You continued to worship with us. You called one another. You bought groceries to those who are most vulnerable. You continued to live your UU faith in the world as you knit protective masks, as you wrote checks to good causes, as you gave blood, as you called your elected representatives, as you continued to drive and to work and fight this virus head on. You continued to live your faith. Because in the end, that's what we do. When times are hard, we take care of one another. From the bottom of my heart, I thank you for continuing to take such good care of the First Parish community, both for today and for all the generations that follow us. Amen. And now for our closing hymn, we'll sing "We'll Build a Land."
We'll build a land where we bind up the broken anointed by God, faith and great peace, our justice showers round like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream.
We'll go in hope, for the arc of the universe is long, and we can bend it towards justice. Go in courage, for together we have the strength to confront injustice in our daily lives and in our larger world. Go in love, because a holy and generous love is both the reason and the means by which we transform our lives.
Until we meet again, we share a sacred trust to live in light, to do the right, and grow in love and care.
I will now extinguish our chalice, but may its light and warmth continue in your hearts until we meet again. Here ends our worship. Let our service begin.